Good morning, members of the press. I want to thank you for making it here this Monday morning. With no further ado, our first speaker is Honorable Alfred Prosper, Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security and Rural Development. Right.
Thank you very much. Let me say a pleasant good morning to you all. And I just want to give an update on some of the initiatives in the Ministry of Agriculture. And very significantly, I will speak on behalf of the banana farmers. I'm sure you recall in recent months, our banana farmers as well as plantain farmers experience a major problem, that is the black cicatricial disease, which really placed our farmers in a very uncomfortable situation. That disease is one that affects the Musa species, the bananas and plantain. And since last year, November, our farmers were not in a position to harvest the fruits and generate an income because of the black cicatricial disease. That made it very difficult for the farmers because we had what we call pre-ripening of the fruits. The fruits would have ripe on the trees, and our farmers had to suffer major losses. That was a result of a delay in shipping because we made a request for the oil since July, August. The oil was procured, but we had tremendous difficulty getting the oil into St. Lucia. Fortunately for us, we engaged the Minister of Agriculture in St. Vincent, and we were able to get 1,500 gallons of the oil that was given to the farmers free of charge. But I just want to inform that 2.5 weeks ago, we received 76,000 gallons of oil, of which 66,000 gallons that was procured under the Food and Security Insecurity Program under the World Bank. The 66,000 gallons will be given to our banana and plantain farmers free of charge. As we speak, all of our banana farmers have received their quota of oil. We are going to distribute more oil as time goes by and based on how the disease is being taken care of. But we know the losses our farmers suffered. And the government, through the Prime Minister, on the 5th of January, no, the 14th of January to be exact, mention was made at the Dennery South Town Hall meeting that some relief will be given to our banana farmers. The Cabinet took a decision to offer some relief to all the banana farmers who are affected, and that is 405 banana farmers who will receive some level of support. And I want to make it known, some level of support. We are not going to compensate farmers for the loss because we know the loss is quite a large sum. But we are going to give some relief to those farmers, and we are hoping that this payment will be made by the middle of March, or I would prefer to say before the end of March. We know that farmers are anticipating this level of support because obviously they would have to do what we call a cutback. They would have to get fertilizer and other farm labor requirements to ensure that they get the plantations to that level. So we are hoping that in mid-March we will provide some level of relief support to our banana farmers to help them continue the production with regards to bananas. Just a few days ago, the NFTO, the National Fair Trade Organization, has collaborated with the Ministry of Education to establish what we call a Ripe Banana a Day initiative for schools. That is an alternative way of utilizing our bananas. And just imagine if every child, I think it's somewhere around 6,000 plus students, eat one banana a day, that will be another opportunity for our banana farmers to continue generating an income, because we would have created what we call our own local market by way of getting our students to eat a ripe banana a day. We must understand the nutritional value of our ripe bananas, and that is going to contribute towards our students in terms of health and so on. So this is what I want to report today, to just inform our farmers that we understand what they went through. It is not a good situation for our farmers to be working hard in the plantations, but when they have to harvest, they suffer major losses. I'm sure you recall last year, April, May, our farmers during the peak production, we had a problem with unavailability of boxes that we never, due to a machine that went bad. And the government did assist the farmers by way of support to the tune of almost 1 million EC dollars. I'm saying all of this to make you understand that our farmers continue to play a very important role in terms of food security. And we know the important role that banana production has played in the development of St. Lucia. The onus is on the government to continue to provide the support, and under the World Bank program, we've provided tremendous support to our banana farmers, our plantain farmers, and our vegetable farmers, as well as our fishers. And you'd recall the 49,000 bags of fertilizer that was given free of charge to our farmers, 42,000 bags of lime that was also given to our farmers, farm labor in the tune of 115 workers reaching out to more than 200 farmers, covering a total land space of about 300 acres. We've provided greenhouse support to our farmers, on-farm drainage, and we are in the process of getting 40,000 bags of fertilizer from the government and people of Venezuela to give farmers some more support in terms of the sector. As I've always said, our food import bill is extremely high, and we need to put measures in place to reduce as much as possible our food import bill. And that is why it's important to continue to provide that level of support to our farmers to reduce the cost of production and to ensure that they can generate a regular income from the agricultural sector. The marketing board, the St. Lucia Marketing Board, they got a loan in the tune of 1.5 million EC dollars, and they are now in a position to be able to buy more from farmers. They are now able to pay farmers a lot quicker than before. And we are hoping that the farmers will continue to take advantage of these opportunities, because we know when our markets are available, our farmers continue to have more confidence in the sector, confidence in the investment, more confidence in what they can grow, because at the end of the day, they expect to get an income that can take care of them and their family.
What are you able to provide us with a figure of the impact of the absence of this oil over the past months on the industry? What loss did the
we
sector
arrived at a formula. As a matter of fact, I wanted to say that we brought all the exporters together, NFTU. There are about 9 or so exporters, including NFTU. And what we looked at was a formula as to the loss, because during the time of the problem, the Black Sea Cattle problem, remember we were just coming from Hurricane Beryl, so a lot of the farmers had to cut back. And so during that time was what we consider to be the peak of their production. We came up with a formula that reveals somewhere in the region of between 5 and 7 million EC dollars. And that's a big loss to the sector. We also got from the exporters themselves quality claims. These are fruits that were exported but could not be purchased or consumed because of the quality, the pre-ripening. And so those exporters also have to be considered in terms of some level of support. We have not gotten to that point yet, but we have received the figures in terms of the quality claims. But it was somewhere in the region of 5 to maybe the most $7 million. And that is quite a lot for the sector. And that is why our good government that I'm part of will be making a relief package available to them, because we are a government about people, and our farmers, we recognize the importance that they play in the development of this country. And this is why the cabinet has taken a decision to provide that support.
So the quality claims, that's together with the actual cost,
Separate.
right? So that's like about 10 million roughly.
It may be a little less.
Then
It may be a little
in
less.
total. So would you say that your ministry dropped the ball when it came to this?
No.
No? Why
No.
not? Because the reason I asked that, because I remember you saying that SVG, St. Vincent, was able to give us some oil, which means they didn't have an issue with not having the oil. Neither is it only us and St. Vincent the ones who are producing bananas in the Eastern Caribbean
No,
still?
well, St. Vincent had its oil stored for a very long time. Because as you know, in the Windward Islands, St. Lucia is the country that produces the most bananas. But St. Vincent had some oil in storage. Now, the reason I tell you I will not blame the ministry, because I actually spoke to the supplier the first week of November in the presence of my new PS, Bradley St. Ange, and we were told that the oil was on the airport, the port in Houston from the first week of November. We kept getting dates upon dates, and every time that date is there, we were being told that it has to be rescheduled. I was of the opinion that the oil would have been there by mid-November, which at the time, the black cicatrical problem was not widespread. But because of the condition at the time, the rainy season, it creates that environmental condition for wider spread. So at the end of November, when I realized we were getting dates, because at the end of November we got a date for the 5th of December, and I really thought that by that time we would be able to have some level of control at the time. And when we were given another date to mid-December, we had to look at alternatives. But before that was since late November, we had a discussion with the Bannermartin Matnik, and they had given us an indication that they would provide us with at least 6,000 gallons, which did not materialize because of shipping issues, etc. But I would not place the blame squarely on the ministry, because for the past 16 years, the Banana Management Unit has been ordering or making the request for oil through that same company. And this is the first time it happened. When we actually made the request, we were told that there were like 4,000 gallons of oil still available in storage at Laka and Otsa. But with the rapid rate of spread of the disease, the demand for the oil became a lot higher, and the farmers were able to take advantage of what was available, not anticipating in any way that we would have waited so long for the oil to get here. The oil actually got here the end of January. End of January, from the first week of November. So that's 3 months. And I was told before I came into this ministry as a minister that it would usually take 6 weeks.
Are we still doing business with this supplier?
It's a statement I do not want to make publicly, but what I can tell you as minister, we will have to look at alternative sources for purchase or procuring the oil into St. Lucia. Because if we had other areas that we could have procured the oil from, we would probably have an amount that we could work with. But we place all our eggs in one basket, and we suffered as a result.
The Soufriere Marine Management Association has issued a notice stating that people are impersonating marine rangers. Do you have any information about this?
I'm hearing that for the first time. What I can do is get more information and come back to you, but I'm hearing this for the first time.
But if this is true, what is your stance on this?
It is unfortunate, but I can, as I said, I will need to get the facts before I can make any further comment on it.
Yes, sir. You mentioned the sustainability of the banana industry, but the Sigatoka disease it has been a recurring issue, and so the oil plays a very important part in taking care of the disease. But has there been any, I mean, in the how we call it the restructuring of the industry, with the experts and is there any guide or any instruction to avert these dangers? Because it's something that's going to happen, and is it just a recurring issue that they have to deal with all the time?
Well, it's a disease. It's a disease, and that disease, it is very prevalent in the rainy season. But the oil is not the only thing that can treat the disease. The health of your plantation is important. So our farmers have to do or engage in the other operations or farm operations, if you want to call it that way. Proper drainage, maintenance of your drainage, pruning your plantation on time, fertilizing on time, because you want to be able to have that level of resistance. During all of the black Sigatoka spread, I went to a farm that is situated right next to the banana management unit in Otsa. And that farm had no signs of black Sigatoka disease. That farmer has been known as one of the best banana farmers, and he has been taking care of his field in a very good way. But the problem we have is, for example, he may be doing all what is necessary on his farm to resist the black Sigatoka disease. But his neighbors may not be doing the same. And because of the way that the disease spreads, while his plantation may be healthy, but the other neighboring plantations can, because they are not in the state that his is, can make it very difficult for him to at least prevent the spread in his plantation. So that is why I have been thinking that we need to change our approach to dealing with the disease. We are actually dependent on the individual farmers to do their spraying to control the disease. But if we had, let's say, a few drones in place, we would have taken care of the entire plantation acreage, that is bananas. Rather than leaving him to spray, he may not be able to have the funds to buy the required amount of oil, while he may have the ability to do so, but may not be spraying on time. Because this is about spreading rapidly from plantation to plantation. So we have to increase our technology in terms of how we treat the disease. So when you treat the disease, you treat it not on an individual farm basis, but throughout the country. I think that is one way of reducing costs. Our farmers will not have to pay for the oil. It will become a government responsibility to treat the plantations over a period of time.
Okay, and just one more. You talk about the ripe banana initiative for schools.
Yes.
So it would require the farmers to produce these bananas
To
the school. So will the ministry be the ones paying for these bananas? How would that work out?
Well, it will have to be the Ministry of Education. For example, the NFTU, National Fair Trade Organization, has a ripening facility in Lakai. So what I suspect will happen is NFTU will buy from the farmers, put it through the ripening facility, and then distribute to the schools. So NFTU, as a company that is involved in the banana industry, would be responsible for buying from the farmers. And they have a list of farmers that sell to them every week. So it will not be a problem to get the bananas. But the good thing about it is that it would help increase the local consumption of our bananas, in addition to what you see in the supermarkets, what goes to the hotels, what you see on the roadsides, etc. And that will help reduce on the heavy dependency on the external market, because we would be providing to our locals a banana every day.
Is that part of the school feeding program?
Yes.
I've seen in documentaries that I've watched the banana plant itself being utilized for additional things after harvesting. So the plant itself would be utilized for the creation of ropes. Some have even gone as far to make clothes out of the fibers in the banana plant. Have we done anything in that regard to focus on agro-processing, not just of the fruit itself, but of the tree?
Parts of it. Well, that's a very good point, and you see countries like Africa using the stem. As we speak, we have an investor who has occupied space in my constituency at the old Belfashion building, and what she's going to do is to use the banana stem to create sanitary napkins. We had a discussion on it, so we are now going to see the bananas, the fruits, but at least we are now going to utilize the stem to produce sanitary napkins that can be used locally but also export. And that is going to be an addition in terms of revenue or income for our farmers, because aside from cutting the bunch, they can utilize the stem to that. But I really wish we could do a lot more with the banana stem, because it is happening in Africa. But you see, the problem, the real problem we have is how young people like you, these are initiatives that you can undertake, and the youth economy is available to provide you with the financial support to do that. But a lot of times we don't see that kind of interest coming from our young people. But I really would like to see we do a lot more, not just with the banana stem, but the plantain stem, the macambo stem, because agro-processing is very critical. And in order for us to grow the agricultural sector and reduce our food import bill and export more of what we produce, these are the initiatives I would like to see young people like you take on and make things happen in St. Lucia.
Have you used it to do paper as yet? Has there been some to using the
Well, there are lots of products that can be made out of it. But that one is the sanitary napkins. And I can tell you the space has been prepared, and I'm hoping very soon from now that can happen in Denver.
What support is the government providing towards this?
Well, we did provide some incentives for machinery and so on. That has been approved at the cabinet level a few months ago.
A question for me though. I mean, recent times there, this resident of the Sunny Acres area, he had some issues with, stray cows coming in.
Yes.
I know the government did put in some initiative to help with this. So where are we now with this? What is going on? Because the problem still persists.
Yeah, the problem is one that is very concerning to me. And I have had engagements with the cattle owner, the biggest cattle owner there. And his issue is land availability, because the lands across where you see the cows opposite Mega J, I think belongs to JQ Charles, and we have not been able to identify an area of crown lands where we can get all those animals in, because I believe it is necessary for us to identify a proper site so we can develop it as what we call community pastures. So, for example, in Lakai, my constituency, we have problems and issues with cattle. We stabilize the riverbanks, but in the dry season, when there is need for water, they would go and actually destroy the trees. But the area that was identified is a flood-prone area, and it was declared not an ideal site. I'm currently in discussion with my officials at my ministry to identify an area in Volet Miku. The government currently occupies 101 acres of lands, and I am in discussion with my ministry to see whether we can get an area identified within the 101 acre parcel to actually establish a community pasture, so that all these cattle, especially the highway, what we see on the highway opposite Mega G or next to Mega G, we can be able to provide some level of assistance to the cattle owner to occupy these lands, because it's high risk, and I know there have been incidents where people got their vehicles damaged, And I do not think this is a very good sight when you drive there to see all these animals crossing the road and all over the place. We have to do something, but my ministry is doing its best to identify a site that is suitable for placing the cattle and to be able to help alleviate the problem.
The cattle owner is willing to move, if
He is
anything,
willing
down
to
to
move. I've
border.
had discussion, he is willing to move. But it's just that we have not been able to get or identify a site that is suitable.
In the interim, what's the penalty on his part if his cows damage anybody's vehicle or they get hurt in an accident? What's the penalty for that? Because that's people's concern right now.
I can't remember what the penalties, but I know usually we place the cattle in a pound in Bexon, and between the owner and the other party, there is an arrangement, and if that arrangement is not one that is forthcoming, then the next step is to go to the courts. But it's really it's an offense. I mean, to have your cattle loose and moving to and from the highway.
It's offense to have it loose, so you're supposed to have it tied up wherever.
Yeah, tied up or fence.
Can you provide an update on the Amazona versicolor production, I guess? There was a time when the ACTP... Can you provide an update on this?
Well, I want to tell you that before Hurricane Allen in 1980, you were probably not born yet, we had thousands and thousands of parrots in our wild, in our natural forests. But after Hurricane Allen in August 1980, the numbers went down to less than 100. And as a result, we took 2 of our parrots and we actually sent them to Jersey Zoo. I'm sure you've heard of Oswald, and I can't remember the other one. Since that time, we've been doing a lot of work in our forest reserve with the objective of increasing the population. I'm sure if you were born at that time, you would not see any parrots except limited to the central rainforest in the areas of maybe Dennery, Miku, Soufre. But years after, you would have heard of sightings in Babono, in Lassosia, etc. So our population increased from the less than 100 to the recent census we had in 2014 or 2015, which brought the numbers to a little close to 2,000. The Association for Tropical ACTP Parrots, that's in Germany, currently they have almost 20 of our parrots, and we have a lease agreement with them because we are actually doing that for what we call our safety net, a safety net. So in the event we have a natural disaster and we lose all our parrots here, at least we have somewhere to go to be able to at least get them and put them back in the wild. The association provided funding to the government, and when you go to Union, you would see the new, what we call the Environmental Education Center at Union. The intention is to be able to house our parrot and our other rare and endangered species, to be able to use it as sensitization and education to the public, and an opportunity for generating revenue. So I must say our parrots are doing very well in terms of the population increase, and we are doing the best we can to ensure that we build the resilience in the forest to reduce the impact of natural disasters on the forest resource, because it will definitely impact the population if that is not done. But I feel good as Minister for Agriculture, and one who was very much involved in working to conserve our parrots and to help increase our population. I must say we are in a much better place than we were 20, 30 years ago.
Of late, we've seen a lot of sightings of snakes, and the reaction by some individuals is to send stones at them, and they've been breeding as well. What is your response as Minister to these?
I wish our populace would have a much better understanding of our snakes, because the two that causes the main problems are the furulence and the boa constrictor. Now the boa constrictor is the friendly snake. It will not harm you, it will not hurt you in any way. It's friendly. The fraudulence is the one that can take your life. Now we've been hearing a lot of sightings of both the fraudulence and the boa constrictor. What we have not done well as a department or a ministry is to help the populace differentiate between the two. The poisonous snake, if it's very close to you and there is any level of noise, it will move away from you. The only time the poisonous snake will strike is if you surprise it. That is its form of defense. And that is why it has the venom that is releasing you to kill you. Because it's well aware when you get into contact with it, you are going to kill it. So it will defend itself by releasing the venom inside. But the boa constrictor will be right there, will be right on the ceiling anywhere there, and you will not disturb it, and it will not attack you in any way. So what we have not done is to differentiate between the two. One of the things I want to tell people about the poisonous snake, I just attended a meeting of the UHC where we were making a presentation to the farmers of snake bite on fraudulence with regards to snake bite. Our fraudulence is now considered to be a very important reptile because the Kentucky Zoo in the US is currently testing the venom from this snake, our local venomous snake, because we suspect it may be a very good medicine for dealing with heart problems. Now if we go and we kill all of them, and then we are being told next year that St. Lucia's fraudulence is the only one in the world that treats heart ailment. You know the amount of revenue, income we can generate from just that? And you know how high St. Lucia will be on a map as the only country in the world that you can get the venom, the snake venom can treat heart ailments? I'm not saying that in any way to say that we're not supposed to kill it when we see it. It is not protected as one of our species that's on the protected list, but it has potential for St. Lucia and the rest of the world if we get the information that would guide us as to its effectiveness for treating certain diseases. The boa constrictor is protected. But what I want people to do, if you see a snake, whether it's a boa or fraudulence, stay away and call your neighbor, call somebody to assist you. Because if you do not know how to differentiate between the two, you may well be walking towards one of the snakes thinking it's a boa, and it may be a fraudulence that will strike you if you get too close to it. So that is why it is important to know the difference. So I see a snake, a fraudulence, I know I have to stay away, call somebody for help. But I can walk next to a boa constrictor and it will not strike me. So that is what I think we have not done well in terms of helping people differentiate the two, because it is important to do so to be able to know how to approach.
So will there be public awareness happens?
Well, we are doing that now. We are going around under the UHC Universal Health project, and we are actually educating farmers and other persons of what to do, what not to do, how to identify them, and so on. So that is something we need to continue, especially at the school level.
And do you have officers stationed around the island if you call for sighting?
Yes, we have 5 regions. We have the northern region, the Denver region, the Miku, what they call Quiles, Soufre, and Millet. So we have persons with contact numbers where you call, and we have the tools to be able to actually take them and move them depending on where they are in residential areas, and release them elsewhere in the forest reserve.
Just quickly, is the boa the bigger one, the bigger snake than the fraudulence?
Yeah, usually it's bigger than the fraudulence.
Because there's
But we
one,
also have some huge fraudulence.
Okay, but which snake that attacks animals that can swallow the small the calf or
Well,
That's the difference.
the boer
The boar.
is more likely to do that. So that's why they can actually, consume the rats, and they would remain on a tree or in a certain area for a very long time because they can swallow large animals very easily. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we have 5 minutes to the minister as he has to return to cabinet. And he's going to brief you on sports awards.
Yeah, the cabinet is on media right now. So, morning, everybody. We recently hosted on Saturday, 43rd St. Lucia National Sports Awards ceremony at the Pavilion in Rodney Bay. As you would have noticed, there were quite a few additions to this year's Sports Award. We included having a Fan of the Year because we believe our fans have been neglected in all 42 other versions of the award ceremony. We really needed to, give that recognition to somebody who's been at our venues supporting their teams and that sort of thing. So this will be a new staple on the awards calendar. We will be, viewing all the activities to see who stands out. We also had the special award of excellence and perseverance. A young individual without any limbs in terms of his legs, having that level of activity in sport, we felt like it was necessary to inspire the individual. So we had that inspiration award added this year. This year, we ensured that as many of the federations were involved, so we had a packed crowd. I think for all intents and purposes, it was well received by those in attendance. I don't think there's ever a perfect award ceremony, but I think generally most of what was achieved in 2024 was truly captured. Questions?
Yes. My question is about the Darren Sammy Cricket Stadium. We saw that we do not have any international fixtures here this year, right? On the political front, some members of the opposition have been questioning whether or not the $80 million was worth it. Now, I'm not even going to go there. My question is, do you think that it is a concern that we didn't get any games? And if you don't think it's a concern, tell me why.
Absolutely laughable. Cricket West Indies, they've had islands on rotation in terms of hosting cricket events from time immemorial. From the time I got involved in cricket, you would have had years in St. Lucia that St. Lucia did not host cricket. This is not the first time, second time, third time, 10th time, 30th time that we've had an actual occurrence that when you say international cricket, you mean
West Indies cricket.
West Indies cricket. Because we do have a couple of tours this year with West Indies A, which is what was so perplexing. We still have teams like, I think it was South Africa A playing against teams in St. Lucia. We have a lot of regional cricket happening at the Darren Sammy. The fact of the matter is, when I first came in the year before, there was barely any international cricket at Darren Sammy, and we've had instances before that you have other countries that are given consideration, considering St. Lucia would have hosted so much over the last 3 years. We have about 14 cricket destinations in the region. St. Lucia had a stellar year in 2024, a stellar year 2023, 2022 as well. And so Cricket West Indies would make decisions that, okay, we need to give some of the islands some attention. I mean, there's nothing novel about that. There's nothing new about that, because when I came in 2021, I remember we had discussions with Cricket West Indies about St. Lucia hosting England. We turned down a series at one point. So I don't think anybody who's followed sport, regional sport, who is not political, is thinking anything is amiss by St. Lucia not hosting that. As a matter of fact, it allows us to really continue to develop our sporting facilities. We had a bumper year in 2024. I know also that there is a lot of politics being played, trying to play on the minds of individuals, simply because we made the announcement that 20 20 facilities will be given attention over the next 6 months. And again, repeating an untruth doesn't make it true. This constant notion that $80 million was guaranteed by this government for one venue, despite the fact that I have stood here more than 10 times, and more than the Prime Minister has said on many different occasions, that it is for sports facilities around the island. We see what's happening at the Grosley playing field. We see what happened at the Mindofile Park. We see what happened at the Marsha grounds, Bellevue playing field, Dennery playing field. And we have so many more that we've announced that we are going to be doing in terms of the South Auger, Philip Mastek grounds, Labrie playing field. We've announced what we've been doing in Ciceron. Ciceron is almost done. Grand Riviere. And I mean, we've been on it in terms of venue development in this country. And they constantly try to deceive people. But the fact of the matter is there's nothing untoward. There's nothing to suggest that anything is wrong, that we did not have the quote-unquote international, because we still have international cricket. If you look at the definition of international cricket in St. Lucia, we still have CPL. We'll still be hosting CPL this year. We'll be having, again, they try to vaguely people, our first ever semi-professional cricket league in this country. And so we're seeing that we continue to flourish in sports development, and they really just kind of understand it.
In terms of specific figures that were spent on the ground, because I know the $80 million was preparation for the World Cup. That could mean a range of things. But do you have any figures like specifically spent on the ground in particular?
No, I don't have specific figures with me right now. The fact of the matter is, it was for the hosting of Cricket World Cup. And I'm thankful that you actually asked that question, because when you host Cricket World Cup, it's not only about venue upgrades. You have other dynamics that you have to deal with. You have a lot of logistics in terms of police, in terms of healthcare, in terms of health aid, in terms of employing different people to effectively ensure that you have the smooth sailing of the event. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy that they seem to be fixated on only physical development. But the fact of the matter is, a Cricket World Cup had a lot of different dynamics that, that we had to ensure that we invest in. And so the Mindofile Park, even the Mindofile Park in terms of security at all the venues, I mean, that was a huge price tag as well. And so I think very soon, when we have a debate, we will be dealing with some of the numbers, the facts and the figures. But we have, as we said, 20 playing fields that are going to be developed over the next couple of months. And again, things are very dynamic, especially when it comes to cost, because we know we're dealing with international inflation. For instance, the costing we did on some of the facilities in terms of courts over the last 3 months ago, right now we have to readjust pricing and costs because of course inflation and some of the cost of materials going up from different times. So I think we're on the right track. I think this year will be a very good year for sports development in St. Lucia. And I know there is this desire to politicize everything, but I think those who are paying attention would be very satisfied with where we're going in St. Lucia.
Final question from me. At least rumor has it that Island Champs will not be at Soufriere this year. Is there any truth to that? And if it is true, any reason for the change?
Okay, so we haven't made a final decision on hosting Island Champs in Soufriere, simply because, again, costs. Transportation costs for Island Champs exceeds $150,000, because you will appreciate we're taking a bulk of the athletes away from the population center. So you have so many secondary schools north of Badlil, north of Ancillary, coming into Soufriere. So that's a huge price tag. And of course, we have to ensure that we pay for those things. And of course, there are different dynamics in terms of moving all the dynamics to Soufriere. So we're considering whether or not we should use another venue. Soufriere has worked in terms of the actual look and feel for an Island Champs. And so you would want to go back there. Again, this is the third edition, and we're seeing more and more interest. So in terms of capacity, we have a huge issue in terms of capacity at Soufriere. So many parents showed up last year well-wishers showed up last year, individual sponsors showed up last year, and you still have the students who want to go to Soufrière. We had to turn away so many people, and it's really heartbreaking when you have a national event that is novel in terms of its structure, that so many people are turned away. So we are giving consideration to all our options. I had a conversation with the PS about a week ago. I will be updated this week, and then a decision will be made, an announcement made.
Okay, in that regard, any plans for additional physical development of the mini stadium, maybe in terms of just seating capacity? I mean, I know there's limited space there, but in terms of seating capacity, any plans?
Yes, we do have plans to have some work done on the Soufrière Mini Stadium in terms of additional seating. What you would appreciate in terms of space, even for Island Champs, we do bring in bleachers, and even in that area, the heat emanating from the artificial turf is really something that is very difficult to bear. So even if you do that, you still have some issues with that stadium. That would probably fit in an additional 750 to 1,000, but the activities happening in Soufrière always surpass that capacity.
Yes.
So we definitely we've been looking, under pressure from the parliamentary representative from Soufrière to build, construct, erect a new stands there. Of course, Cabinet will decide when it happens, but it's something that we're definitely looking into.
And any plans for, again, further development? Final question. There are people who have, I don't think so. In terms of resurfacing the stadium itself, because I know there have been issues with the artificial turf. I've heard that for the longest while. So any plans?
This way, I have people that are supporters of mine who know my passion and love for sport that are upset with me. I'm talking about really upset with me that we've not gone out and just totally uprooted the artificial turfs. If you look at the MO, the modus operandi of the Labour Party, we do not destroy unless we're going to build. It makes no sense to just go and uproot and then you cannot immediately put in the various structures to ensure that you have physical activities there immediately. So in the case of Soufrière was one of the best venues to go and watch cricket. When you decide to uproot the artificial turf, you would decide to remove the football area, you still won't be able to have cricket there because there's not enough space. So that is not an option right now on the table. The cost of uprooting those facilities, you must decide whether or not you're going to bear that cost, or if you are going to, as a sports minister, go to the other communities that need an actual upgrade. So do you take the money to just remove what's there, or do you take the money to go to a place like Babono, Debara, Lague, and actually develop the facilities? So what we are doing as a government is developing facilities. So when we do decide that we're going to take some money and invest in removing the artificial turf, we have enough options for other people to actually ply the trade while we decide to move those things. So that is where we are. We are very confident that eventually we'll get there and our people will be better accommodated in terms of sports development.
Thank you very much, and good day to everyone.
Good day.
Yes, I think this is the first time I'm speaking to you all for the new year.
Yes, Happy New Year.
If my memory serves me right, so I want to say Happy New Year to all of you.
Thank you.
And I want you all to continue, subjecting the issues of the day to systematic scrutiny and illuminating it so that it could lead to deeper understanding in the society. I think at this juncture, I want to just reference a comment regarding the concerns about deportees. One of the things I will say to you very clearly, St. Lucia is certainly not above the law, and we have an obligation under international law to maneuver in specific ways. The United States of America is a very good friend of St. Lucia. We continue to strengthen the bonds of friendship, and our relationship is established on the basis of mutual respect and trust. We are working with the US. We are in constant communication with them to ensure things happen as smoothly as possible. And we have also put local mechanisms in place to deal with any issues of deportation. So rest assured, whilst we are not going in the public domain to speak to various scenarios, we are in the back rooms preparing for the inevitable. So we would prepare for situations and, probably have certain things in place to ensure that we minimize the impact as far as practicable. Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
Good.
Questions?
Just briefly.
We've taken about 3 questions as cabinet is going.
So as of now, the Ministry of External Affairs has got no correspondence from the U.S. Embassy or regarding this deportation issue. No,
But
not.
any correspondence coming into the state, whether it is for Ministry of Commerce, the Prime Minister's office, it comes through Foreign Affairs. And that's the way we communicate. We communicate via diplomatic notes. We communicate over the phone. Countries are actually in active conversation, especially something of that magnitude. You have a new administration in the United States. They certainly would set in motion, their own policies. And so we have to monitor those policies and respond appropriately. We do have our laws, and we are going to maneuver within the parameters of the law. The United States of America has its laws, and we need to respect, the laws and respect the country. We also have an obligation under international law, and we are going to respect that. But the United States and St. Lucia enjoy excellent relations. And through the long tracks of future time, I see nothing changing.
So there's been no issue, no response from them. There's been no information forthcoming.
No, like I said, my brother, we are in constant conversation, because that is how we conduct our external relations. Whether it's the United States, Canada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, whatever country, we are always in communication. So any issue, any development, they will communicate with us. So we are in communication with the United States.
Regarding our relations with the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, has any concern been expressed, I guess, from the U.S. side about that relationship at all?
Well, no. Basically, in the hemisphere, we belong to the OAS, and part of the charter is clearly not to interfere in the internal matters of countries. So St. Lucia has always been obedient to that. As a matter of fact, in our policy prescriptions, it is clearly stated we do not interfere in the internal affairs of another country. So if there are elections in Venezuela has its independent mechanisms to verify whatever they do. We are in no position to dictate to them otherwise. So we establish good relations with all countries around the world, and of course we cooperate on common objectives of humanity.
Over the years, we've seen, I guess, few countries that have had relations with Taiwan, some going back to China. Where does St. Lucia stand in all of this? Are we moving towards there, or are we staying with Taiwan?
Well,
I know it's a very direct question.
Yes, but what I will say to you is St. Lucia will select countries to align with, and of course the policies that is in consonance with our development objectives. With the Republic of China on Taiwan, we cooperate on a multiplicity of levels, in agriculture, in education, in the field of healthcare. So we have forged a relationship that is actually in consonance with our development agenda. And this is what we are going to do. Whatever relationship we establish with another country, it is actually to advance the development of our country, to match our basic need with greater possibilities. We do not auction our foreign policy. We are not going to say this one will give us, X, and this one will give us X plus Y. We must assess the situation in the country and see what's best for the people. So I can speak to that moment. We had the choice to switch diplomatic relations or to remain. And we have chosen to remain, to continue to fuel our development agenda, and that is what we are going to do.
You said you've had that option to switch. Were you presented in recent times that option, or
No.
Okay.
There's been some talk about the U.S. Embassy being established in St. Lucia. Would you have any clarification, any issue, any facts on this?
Well, given the fact that we are not the ones who would decide to establish a U.S. Embassy in St. Lucia, the U.S. would be in the best position to comment on those matters. The U.S. has its own processes, and we must allow that particular process to come to its logical conclusion. We'd be happy if that would happen, but we cannot make any pronouncement on this at this juncture in time.
Safi Labri, the quarry, I guess that was earmarked for that. What is happening right now with that? Is it still going up? Has it been established? What is happening?
Well, no new quarry has been established in Labri, and the last time I had the opportunity to address you on that particular issue, I made it clear that the people of Labri are vehemently opposed to the idea, and I think we need to be sensitive to the mood of the people of the Labri-Auger constituency.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Well, let me first start by wishing all of you a very happy New Year. I'm not sure that we have met since the New Year or communicated since the New Year. I want to wish you the very best, and I certainly look forward to enjoying a good relationship with the media. This afternoon, I believe one of the most pressing issues that I've got before me is the matter to do with the Chaussee Road. And there seemed to be quite a bit of concern, public concern. Persons are attempting to determine what exactly is taking place on Chaussee Road and how soon will Chaussee Road be completed. This project has been going on for a little while now, almost a year, and it is a very difficult and challenging one in that Chaussee Road within the city is one of the roads which comprise quite a bit of utilities embedded in the ground. So what you have on Chaussee Road, you have water lines, 10, 14, 8, and 6 inches at different grades. You've got sewer lines, you've got flow lines, cable and wireless lines, and you've got, well, of course, a loose neck with the KVA, 66 KVA lines running under that Chaussee Road. So the problem we've had is an attempt to, one, rehabilitate the road. The government decided that to rehabilitate Chaussee Road, we needed to resolve an issue that has been ongoing for many years. And that issue is the frequency of leaks and ruptures in the pipelines on Chaussee Road. Therefore, the cost of the road escalated to an additional $2.6 million thereabout to change the 14-inch line, the 8-inch and the 6-inch line to ensure that once the road is done, then we've got a road that will not be interfered with by Wasco probably for 15 years or so. Then you have the KVA, 66 KVA lines, which we need to, the contractor need to ensure that there is no, interference or no danger in the interference to put in the other utilities underneath there. So quite a bit of that has taken place over the period of time to try and get it right, to get the connections, to avoid any mishap, and to raise the manholes on Chaussee Road. Chaussee Road has 96 manholes along Chaussee Road. There are 68 of the old ones and 28 new manholes which were put in there. All of those manholes had to be either constructed and the old ones to be reconstructed and lifted to meet the level of the new pavement. So where are we now? We have done quite a bit. So we have seen the repairs to the sidewalks. We have seen some reclamation taking place where the contractor has reclaimed a major part of the road, and they have started laying what we call the base and what we consider to be the regulation cost, meaning it's a cost that allows them to be able to monitor the base of the road and to respond to any weaknesses, any soft spots on the road. While they're doing that, they're also doing the pressure testing to make sure that the new lines that they've put in are resilient enough to withstand whatever pressures that they're going to put in there. In addition to some of the other utilities that I've mentioned, you also have the raw, the seawater hydrants, and you have the potable water hydrants, just in case of fires. So it's a lot of activity taking place there. To work Chaussee Road, you either have got to brave it and work during the day and paralyze the movement of traffic through the city, or you work at nights and probably get a greater response out, a greater outcome out of your activities. The contractor has tried working both day and night alongside WASCO, collaborating to bring about the quality of work that we expect. So at this time, we are now testing the pressure from Miku Street to Jeremy Street, and then to move on to make the final connection from Jeremy Street to Calvary Road. Once that is done, then the final layers will be put in place, and hopefully within the coming weeks we should see the road completed. However, the weather has not given us a chance to really function as we should. So as you know, every morning it rains, it interferes, it affects with the work taking place on Chaussee Road. But I must apologize to the motoring public and the pedestrian public also for the inconvenience caused, as it is a very busy road, Chaussee Road, a very busy road, and we understand their concern, but we're doing all in our power and effort to get the road to normalcy.
So I know that last year Infrastructure 2030 was really established in earnest. What is the next phase? What are we looking at now in terms of the broader plan for infrastructure development? And also, given the fact that last year was dubbed the year for infrastructure, what would you say is the major outcome from last year?
Okay, there are two components there, two programs. One program is Infrastructure 2030, which is a strategic plan. The strategic plan in terms of infrastructure on the island. How do we operate? How do we function? What legislation exists? What legislation needs to be reviewed? For example, the Works and Roads Act, which is an act of 1959 thereabout, is a piece of legislation which governs infrastructure in St. Lucia. In fact, when you read it, it speaks about communications and works, etc., etc. So the legislation has to be reviewed. Policies have to be reviewed and established, and of course new mandates and protocols have to be established, including protocols in terms of designs, etc. Because when the Works and Roads Act was established, we spoke of donkey, horse and cart. Now we speak of vehicles, we speak of electric vehicles, etc., etc. So that's a strategic plan. It's a policy and strategic plan. The next phase is to begin to do what I call the physical plan in terms of where do we see this country being in the year 2030? What would our road infrastructure be like? And some of what is existing now in St. Lucia, when you see the number of vehicles that we've got on the island, and we see the inability of our road infrastructure to facilitate the movement of vehicles, is because over the years, for decades, all we did were to either repair roads or to build roads based on who requests that a road be built. So probably the Prime Minister decides we need to build a road here, the Minister says we need to build a road there, but no real strategic plan. at this stage, we need to have a strategic plan. For example, we speak about the northern quadrant, northeastern quadrant, which is on the east coast, northeastern coast of the country. With Infrastructure 2030, we need to liaise with the various agencies, the various ministries, Department of Physical Development, Tourism, Agriculture, etc., and to begin to think and to plan what is likely to happen in that zone, and to underpin the national plan with an infrastructure plan. Likewise, the whole issue of movement of traffic. You have the Julian R. Hunt Highway from Shock to Grosile. We speak of developing a four-lane highway, but will that four-lane highway be suitable enough or adequate enough to provide the movement of traffic north and south? And what we have now taking place on the Julian R. Hunt Highway is more or less all traffic moving, whether you're moving east, west, or north, you move through that corridor and bottleneck yourself to get into your secondary and tertiary roads. We are saying, no, we can do better than that. We can look at a vision that will take us or bypass the city or run parallel to the Castries-Grosvenor Highway, that it can take you further east and to avoid all of the traffic that is happening. So it's already a major master development plan for infrastructure that is needed now that we have agreed on the policy, the strategic plan, and then to say the vision, how to vision where we should be by the year 2030. Now 2030 is not far. It's just around the corner. We're in 2025, it's 5 years around the corner. It means that we need to get this thing done, and even as we are doing it, to begin to accelerate in terms of where do you go beyond 2030, because the country is developing. We're bringing in more cars, we are more or less suffocating the infrastructure arteries. We need to find ways and means of transportation, new ways and means of transportation. We need to come with a strategic plan, a physical plan for transportation, in terms of our bus terminals, in terms of the size of vehicles that we're using, in terms of the design of the vehicles, the make of vehicles, whether we continue to go on fossil fuels or whether we go on EV, and that is one of the things we're promoting, to move into EV, and also to look at the possibility of larger buses to move more people. So in other words, to move into mass transportation rather than 14-seaters, etc. So these are some of the things in Infrastructure 2030, and as I said, it is really a strategic plan for the department to reposition itself, to review its policies, review legislation, but at the same time to develop a physical plan in terms of developing our infrastructure.
Minister, in relation to the ground handling disruptions,
in relation to?
Ground handling disruptions at the Hiranora International Airport some time ago. There was a press release issued by IATA. I think the Prime Minister claimed it was not, but we have found that it was issued by IATA. So I wanted to know your response to this. Their concerns and of a sole handler at the airport. Yeah.
Well, yes, we did encounter some difficulty at the Hiranora International Airport a few weeks ago, I think somewhere around the 5th of February. IATA issued I'm not too sure whether I saw the press release, but IATA wrote to the minister responsible for airports happening to, who is myself. And the problem with this is that IATA addressed the letter to me, emailed the letter, but never emailed it to me. So it went all over the place, but never to me. In other words, when you look at the email thread, there's no email address there which looks like my email or anything else. However, what the letter was saying, they were concerned about the fact that one ground handler and what transpired at the airport. They were very quick to do that. I have no objection to their position. I believe they have every right as a partner in aviation business and transportation business to make those points. I personally believe that we need to look at it, to look and to see whether there's need to have more than one ground handler at the airport, okay? And what we have decided is to review the operations as we speak now and to make a determination as to how we proceed. The other thing we need to look at is to see whether, and I think IATA did make that point also, to see whether we legislate the provision of services at the airport as being essential to the extent to minimize the rate at which any union can stage a strike, considering the very essential service that the airport provides to the government and people of St. Lucia.
I don't know if you have been informed by the Mondido Minibus Association. I think they had a couple of robberies of, well, 2 buses, one in January, another one in February. I want to get your response to all of this.
Well, they have not spoken to me as yet. I'm aware of those incidents, but I believe it goes to exactly what we keep saying, and that is to improve the quality of transportation. We need to look at cashless systems. We need to look and see how we can make buses more secure, not just for the operators, but also passengers. And we need to ensure that generally security throughout the country embraces not just persons who are moving on the streets, but also persons who are utilizing public transportation. Because public transportation is a very essential service. If people cannot move, leave their homes at any given time, either to visit the city or to transact business, then what you'll have is what is already existing, and that is a dead city beyond 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's an area that we really need to pay some attention to. And we did have some conversation with the NCOPT not too long ago, before the Christmas, speaking about how we can proceed in those directions to give the necessary support. First and foremost, for a cashless system. The fact that persons are moving about, like bus drivers who are collecting cash and having it on their person, is not a very safe idea, and therefore we need to get away of it. Some people believe that the only way they can value money is to have it in their pocket or have it hidden somewhere. But we've advanced. A card system should make life a lot easier.
What do you envisage for our ports, well, Castries port, in terms of the container ports? And we know they've had some issues in recent time with the storage, the capacity to store these containers. So what are the plans to deal with this long term?
Well, what happened at the port is certainly a wake-up call. Very unfortunate, but the ports have to be expanded and redeveloped. The fact is, not only do we have a lot more volume, but the multi-purpose of port Castries is an issue, particularly now during the tourism season. And so our options in terms of cargo port, commercial port, tourist port, etc., is a very active subject matter. For years we have spoken about cul-de-sac. There is some, I must admit, in recent times, there is some very interesting interest expressed in developing cul-de-sac. And I'm hoping in the coming weeks, through conversations that I intend to have with a few investors, most likely we will see some sort of investment made in cul-de-sac. But that is really at the embryonic stage at this time. We need to be able to make Port Castries as a cargo port a 24-hour port. We cannot work 8 to 4 and believe it is sufficient. Not in a port where it is utilized for both tourism and industry or cargo. We need to look at making it a 24-hour port. So you can work at nights, next day you can use it for your cruise ship, but you're maximizing the hours that you have in a day. So all of these will be part of a longer term plan for port development in St. Lucia, and we have to look at Castries, Soufrière, Vieux-Fort, and Cul-de-sac, and to be able to determine what are the best functions of each of those ports.
Would you be able to provide any update on the airport redevelopment project? I think there's a tender has gone out today for the tower. Where are we right now with that?
Yes, I cannot give you the details because that's been done by the Port Council. Of course, as you saw, there is a tender going out for the continuation of the tower. We need to expedite that process so as to complete the tower because all of the necessary equipment is on island, and the air traffic controllers certainly do need that breathing space because of the condition of the existing tower. It's inadequate. We have more traffic controllers, and so we need to get this one going. But more than that, we need to go to the next phase, which is the terminal building itself, to be able to get that project off the ground and to ensure that we upgrade the quality of our service here in St. Lucia. It is absolutely necessary. We are seeing the numbers increasing on a daily basis. Almost every day you've got about 8, 9, 10, 11 flights landing at Hiranori International Airport, and the congestion that happens at the airport. We have increased the number of immigration officers there. I think we are now at probably 12 immigration officers, and it's not 12 cubicles and 6 are working, but we have been able to get a commitment and to get the immigration officers there working fully, occupying all of the cubicles provided for them.
Yes,
The shooting project.
the concerns on the Millennium Highway, the West Coast project. Like we've seen the bridge has been installed, but the road works, from the cul-de-sac, the roundabout, like it's just not going anywhere. It's just like, what is the status with this?
I share your view, and it is one which has frustrated me quite a bit in terms of the pace at which that project has been going on. And there are persons who are directly involved in the project who must answer to the media and to the general public of St. Lucia. Because the problem with the project is that the project is not funded directly by government. The British government gave St. Lucia a grant of somewhere in the vicinity of $42 million to do the Millennium West Coast Highway. The grant was channeled through the Caribbean Development Bank, and all of the conditionalities set up in terms of how that should be operated. The government signed the agreement as a gift, and the bank more or less monitors and to ensure that all goes on. There is a consultant engineer who is responsible for the implementation of the project in terms of methodologies, etc., design, etc. They designed, the methodology is being dictated by the consultant engineer. There is a project office, coordinating office, providing the necessary support, and of course the ministry. So much of what is happening there is being done through the project office and consultant engineering, and of course under the supervision of the Caribbean Development Bank. But the pace at which it is going is absolutely frustrating. And therefore, we need to mount the pressure to ensure that this project gets completed. The most frustrating part of it really now is the fact that we are seeing some signs of completion on Millennium Highway. But every time you see that some progress is being made, then there seems to be some regression in terms of what has been laid down and does it meet the specifications of the consulting engineering firm, etc. And I'm hoping that it can be gotten right in terms of making sure that we get this project done once and for all. It's too long. It's over 4 years going on. with the project. And of course, the West Coast Road with the other contractor. We see, I noticed over the weekend that they're advertising for positions on the road. That's over a year. Only now advertising for truck drivers and engineers, etc., on a project that was awarded over 4 years ago.
But are there no actions that the government can take, I guess, to...
Well, we are reviewing the agreement. We are reviewing the agreement to see what course of action that we can take. And once there is a window of opportunity, whoever is in the way will be a casualty. Whoever is in the way will be a casualty. But we're looking at the agreement, the contracts, and the agreement generally.
But what are some of the biggest challenges that the contractors say that they face? Because I know one time you spoke about supplies that were not substantial, so you have this.
Yes.
But what are some of the substantial concerns that this, laying the surface of the road, the drainage?
Well, as I said the last time we spoke, the issue of supplies, aggregate for example. The aggregate is determined based on the design, what we call the design of the mix, what we call a mix design. So the contractor has to meet that mix design. And once the contractor doesn't meet the mix design, then it means that contractor has to pursue the effort. So in a number of cases, what happened was that the mix design failed, and therefore the contractor needed to find material that suits the mix design, to the extent that the contractor had to move to Martinique to get aggregate from Martinique. And even that seemed to have had a problem, to the extent in the final analysis to go to Barbados and to obtain limestone material for the road. That seemed to have been the material that is being used from all indications. I am not an engineer. I can only relate what I understand from their language. But in my own layman view, the question is, why should we design a road that we know we do not have what it takes to build a road in terms of materials, etc. But we have built roads before, and roads have lasted from the materials that we have here in the country. So there are a lot of issues and concerns that I have, and I'm hoping that we'll get over that at some stage. In the case of the West Coast Road, one of the troublesome issues was just before Christmas, when the contractor was allowed to mill, as we say, over 7 kilometers of road just before Christmas. That in itself is almost like punishment to the country. And we certainly expressed our views to the contractor and those involved.
So who's going to bear this extra cost? Is the contractor? What is the obligation?
Well, there's a fixed contract price, unless the contractor can prove that any over expenditure wasn't or isn't his fault. He has to bear the cost. He has to bear the cost. There's a fixed price.
So we take 3 more questions.
Yeah. The Shosef project, sorry, do you have a completion date? Given all what has happened now, what's the completion date?
Well, we have passed the completion date.
Yes.
Okay, we have gone past the completion date. I have spoken to the contractor not too long ago, and they're hoping that within the next month or so, by end of March, they would have completed the remaining section of the road, which is from Jeremy Street to Calvary. Now, hopefully from Calvary, that road is to continue all the way to the VG roundabout and on to Lance Road, to Paul's gas station. But for now, it's from Chaussee Road on to Calvary. So I'm hoping that within the next month we'll be complete.
What about the Prale project, the culvert?
The culvert, a contractor has been appointed. The contractor is on the ground, but again, I've been given instruction to get the contractor to move a lot more speedily. We understand the challenge there in that this is a major highway, And so we have to be very careful as to how, but certainly the contractor is on the ground.
Any final question?
Well, thank you very much for you being lenient on me this afternoon. Probably I should meet with you every afternoon. Thank you very much. Good.